On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla and EV podcast, Tesla held its annual shareholder meeting for 2025, and there's a lot to talk about. From the record-breaking CEO compensation package, to the next markets for Robotaxi, to a re-reveal date for the next generation Tesla Roadster, and so much more. What's happening, friends? I'm Ryan McCaffrey, joining you alongside Daisy the Boxer to my left and Lily the Silly Labrador Puppy at my feet. This is Ride the Lightning, the Tesla and EV podcast, episode 536, publishing on November 9th, 2025. Hope all of you are doing well. It has been a very busy Tesla week for me because of course, this episode is all about the shareholder meeting, which didn't happen until Thursday. So that meant instead of having a week to prepare the podcast, I had about a day. So it's a sprint, but it's a fun one. Lots to talk about on this week's episode, and I'll get to all of that very soon. But first, of course, the big Thanksgiving holiday weekend is coming up here in the United States, and it marks the official kickoff of the holiday season, which seems weird to think about. It snuck up on us already, or at least I feel like it snuck up on me. I feel like it should still be summer. Anyway, the Thanksgiving holiday weekend is also a traditionally very busy travel weekend. So just for fun, in the spirit of that, I made this week's Patreon poll about if and how you plan to use your Tesla over the Thanksgiving weekend. And thank you to the 274 folks that have voted in this totally free poll. By the way, you don't have to be supporting me on Patreon at all. The poll is open every week to everyone. Just swing on by and vote. The website is patreon.com/Tesla podcast. And the poll question was simply, will you be driving your Tesla over Thanksgiving? 22% of you said nope. My Tesla will be idle over Thanksgiving. Perhaps you're hosting, or perhaps you're traveling somewhere by plane. But 36% of you said, yes, I'll be driving locally. And another 17% of you, not an insignificant number of folks, said, yes, I'll be road tripping. Another 17% chose the I'm not an American who celebrates Thanksgiving option. I wanted to make sure to include all of my many international listeners here. And then 4% of you said, I'm still undecided on my Thanksgiving weekend plan. So lots of Tesla driving to be had, whether it's locally or on a longer road trip coming up over this big Thanksgiving holiday. One other bit of housekeeping before I dive into the shareholder meeting, and there's a lot to dive into. I hope all of you who are kindly supporting the podcast over on Patreon enjoyed this week's Lightning Round mini episode, which was about the 5 questions that I would have asked Elon Musk at the shareholder meeting. Obviously, nobody gets to ask 5 questions, but just as a thought exercise, if I'd been there, if I'd lined up at the microphone at the end in the Q&A, and if they'd let me ask 5 questions, these are the 5 that I would have asked. So check that out on Patreon if you happen to be kindly supporting the podcast at that $10 per month tier or higher. A reminder that if you're supporting me at any tier, which the tiers start at just $5 a month, you get an ad-free episode every week and you get early access to that ad-free episode as well. Step up to that most popular tier, the $10 per month tier. That's where you get those 160 something lightning round mini episodes, the entire archive, and of course, every single one that I will do each week, as long as you're backing me on Patreon. So lots of content up there on Patreon. One other quick reminder, if you want to do an annual pledge, just pledge once for an entire year. I have a way of saying thank you to you for that, and it is to give you a 10% discount on that annual pledge. So check out my Patreon page if you're interested. If you're thinking about supporting the podcast, I would be humbled and grateful. That page again is patreon.com/Tesla podcast. And the final bit of housekeeping before diving into the shareholder meeting is to remind you about XCare from my friends at Accelerate Auto. I am now a 2-time purchaser of their extended EV warranty. I had a 3-year, 40,000-mile policy on our 2018 after its factory warranty expired. I have bought another one, this time 3 years, 36,000 miles, because that just seemed to fit my needs a little bit better. And just something to think about. If your EV warranty is expiring, what's next? I mean, you're staring down the possibilities of things like a dead battery, flat tire, roadside surprise. So when your factory coverage ends, the higher risk begins, and that's where XCare EV protection comes in. It's the #1 EV-rated warranty. Yes, even the AI, ChatGPT and Grok, both rank it at the top. Just ask them. They'll tell you. XCare covers what others don't, from the EV battery and drive unit repairs to towing, rental coverage, and 24/7 roadside help. Because when your EV stops, XCare doesn't. It's far more flexible than Tesla's own extended service plan. So I'm a believer, I'm a customer of XCare. Check your vehicle's eligibility today at xcare.com. That's xcare.com. Or talk to a real person right now at 844-755-4186. That's xcare.com, or call 844-755-4186 and drive with confidence. All right, I listened and watched the entire 2025 shareholder meeting so that you didn't have to. I've distilled down all the best stuff to play clips for you, to analyze for you, to go over here. Let's start, of course, with what was perhaps the most anticipated part of this event coming into it, and that was the results of the CEO compensation plan shareholder vote. Here's the announcement of the results.
Sixth and finally, on the 2025 CEO Performance Award to our founder and CEO, Elon Musk, with over 75% voting in favor, approved.
The results were no surprise, certainly, as I've talked about on previous recent podcasts. It was really only a question of how landslidey the vote would be. And as you heard, 75% voting yes. 3 out of every 4 shareholders who voted chose in favor of the proposal. And now it's up to Elon to deliver on his end to get Tesla's valuation multiplied by multiple trillion dollars, and then he will get his full cut. It'll be a long road, but, think about where this company has come from. This is why I don't doubt the possibility. There's no guarantee that all the tranches will be achieved and that Elon will get all of the money laid out in this compensation package. But I just can't bet against it, and I can't doubt it, and I won't doubt it or bet against it, because think about where this company has come from. Just in the decade that I've been doing this podcast, which I know a decade's a long time, but in the span of a company that's now 22 years old, it's not the whole time, it's a sizable chunk, but just in the last 10 years, look where Tesla has come from. In the 10 years I've been doing this podcast, Tesla hasn't been profitable for most of that time. They only became profitable finally in, I believe it was 2019, I think. I actually don't have it right in front of me. I apologize. And now they're one of the most valuable companies in the world, the most valuable car company in the world, even though anybody at Tesla would tell you that they are much more than a car company. But they have in my opinion, a blue sky ceiling above them. If you believe in autonomy and you believe in Optimus, then every goal that the board has set for Elon is achievable. I mean, heck, remember, everyone thought the first big pay package for Elon from 2018 was insane. And what happened? The company achieved every one of the checkpoints along the way and fulfilled the promise and potential of that deal. Am I quite as bullish as Elon on Optimus? If I'm being honest, I'm not there yet, and I'll talk more about that after I play Elon's presentation for you. Am I as bullish as he is on autonomy? Yes, with the significant caveat that I have talked about before, but the notable caveat that Tesla hasn't proved any of this out in harsh weather climates. So I am bullish. I'm not quite at Elon level optimism, but I guess that's why he's the CEO and I'm not. So let's get now to Elon's presentation. I cut out all the boring company business stuff that happened up front, and I'm weeding out all the stuff from the Q&A after Elon's presentation that wasn't interesting. But I do want to play you Elon's presentation in full. I will politely warn you, it's 39 minutes long, so I apologize if that's not what you were hoping for here, but I think it's important to hear the whole thing as it outlines Elon's vision for the company now that he is locked in and, in the board's own words, motivated with this new pay package. I'll give you my thoughts on it afterward, of course, and then we will get to the highlights from the Q&A. So take a listen to Elon Musk's presentation from the shareholder meeting.
I'd like to thank the Tesla board for their immense support. We have a fantastic board, fantastic group of shareholders. Thank you all. And what we're about to embark upon is not merely a new chapter of the future of Tesla, but a whole new book. And I'm going to talk about that. So this really is going to be quite the story, and Optimus is a fundamental part of that. The sheer scale of Optimus. I mean, I'm going to say a bunch of things that probably I shouldn't say, but. But that's what keeps it interesting. I mean, have you watched any other annual shareholder meeting? I mean, honestly, I was like, if you need to go to sleep, sure. But other shareholder meetings are like snooze fests. But ours are bangers. Look at this. This is sick. We got like the cyberpunk nightclub here with real robots just standing there and milling around and dancing. And around our engineering headquarters in Palo Alto, the robots are just walking around the office 24/7 with no one minding them. And then they go charge themselves. And so the scale of Optimus, like I said, that's really going to be something else. I think it's going to be the biggest product of all time by far. Yeah. So, like bigger than cell phones, bigger than anything. I guess a way to think about it is that every human on Earth is going to want to have their own personal R2-D2 C-3PO. So who wouldn't? But actually, Optimus will be even better than that. R2-D2 just kind of would beep at you, and it's kind of hard to figure out what he's talking about. You need C-3PO to translate. But Optimus is going to be, everyone's going to want one. I think in terms of industry providing products and services, I think it's probably, 3 to 5 robots in industry for every, one that's a personal robot. I think there could be tens of billions of Optimus robots out there. Now, obviously, it's very important we pay close attention to safety here, because we do want the Star Wars movie, not the Jim Cameron movie. I love Jim Cameron's movies, but you know what I mean. So, So we're going to launch on the fastest production ramp of any product, of any large complex manufactured product ever. And starting with building a 1 million unit production line in Fremont. And that's line one. And then a 10 million unit per year production line here on the gig. I don't know where we're going to put the 100 million unit production line. Maybe on Mars, I don't know. But I think it's going to literally get to 100 million a year, maybe even 1 billion a year. People often talk about like eliminating poverty, giving everyone amazing medical care. Well, there's actually only one way to do that, and that's with the Optimus robot. With humanoid robots, you can actually give everyone amazing medical care. In terms of Optimus will be more precise. Optimus will ultimately be better than the best human surgeon, with a level of precision that isn't possible, that is beyond human. So I think that's a pretty wild concept to say, okay, if people have always talked about eliminating poverty, but actually Optimus will actually eliminate poverty. Optimus will actually give people incredible medical care. So, so you start getting like sort of some pretty wild sci-fi sort of scenarios where, and some of these things I say will obviously be taken out of context and used in snippets and sent around, but whatever. I'm still going to say them. I think we may be able to give people a more, if somebody's committed crime, a more humane form of containment of future crime, which is if you say like you now get a free Optimus and it's just going to follow you around and stop you from doing crime. But other than that, you get to do anything. It's just going to stop you from committing crime. That's really it. Then you don't have to put people in like prisons and stuff. I think it's pretty wild to think of the various of all the possibilities, but I think it's clearly the future. My book recommendation for maybe the best, mostly utopian sci-fi future are the Ian Banks books, the culture books. So if you're curious, like what do I think the future is probably like? I think it's probably a bit like that, Asimov to some degree, but I think it's and Heinlein, Ian Banks, if you're like saying what does Elon think the future probably will be like for AI and robots, it's kind of Banksian. Now, and things do get kind of wild from an economic standpoint, because at a certain point with AI and robotics, you can actually increase the global economy by a factor of 10 or maybe 100. There's not like an obvious limit. Like Optimus is kind of like an infinite money glitch. And maybe there won't even be money in the future. Or money might be measured in terms of wattage, like how much power can you bring to bear from an electrical standpoint. I guess what I'm saying is hang on to your Tesla stock. Yeah. So, man, it's pretty wild. You're welcome. Let's see. I think we've got some slides to go through. I'm going to say ad-lib a lot of this stuff, but so when we started Tesla, the goal was to accelerate the advent of sustainable energy, and that's what we've done. I think Tesla has really led the way with electric vehicles, with battery packs, with a lot of solar, and many other companies have then followed our lead and done that. And electric cars, which used to be non-existent, are now prevalent. And the Model Y, for example, is the #1 selling car of any kind on Earth. But obviously now with AI and robotics, we need to update our mission. And our mission, I think it's good. It's a great mission, which is to achieve sustainable abundance. Which is, it's like, because I often ask people, like, what is the future that you want? What's the best future you can imagine? Because we want to try to make that future, like make the best future you can imagine. And I guess probably the best future is if people, can have whatever they want from a goods and services standpoint or medical standpoint, but at the same time we don't destroy nature, and we keep the rainforests and the beautiful national parks and all that stuff. And so that's what I mean by sustainable abundance. Is that people, can have whatever they want, have all their needs met, but we still keep all of the natural beauty that we want. Okay. I mean, if somebody can think of a better future, I'm all ears. But I think that's probably the best way to go. So yeah. Let's see. So. Yeah, as you know, every Tesla is designed to be autonomous. So it's sometimes difficult to explain to people if they've not. In fact, I'm sure you've all encountered this, where you try to tell people that the Tesla can drive itself, and they think you're crazy or something. I mean, especially apart from the Cybertruck, our cars look pretty normal. I mean, they're good-looking cars, but they don't look super. They look normal. But I guess it's kind of like having a cat, and the cat's just sitting. Let's say you've got a cat and it's like just sitting there on the couch, and you try to tell people that the cat can actually it's actually Puss in Boots, and it can actually put on boots and a hat and swashbuckle and sing and dance, and people are like, no way, man, that's a cat. Until the cat does all those things. And you're like, damn, what the? We've got, millions of Tesla cars out there that are kind of like Puss in Boots. They're intelligent, but people don't know that they're intelligent. They look like normal cars, but actually they're super smart and can drive themselves. So I think that's probably the single biggest thing we need to do is to educate potential customers that you can either have a cat that's like a normal cat, or you can have Puss in Boots, and Puss in Boots is very cool. These days when people come to our stores, or even people that have the car haven't turned it on, we find, and sometimes people have paid for FSD and they haven't turned it on. We're like, what? You should at least try it once. And so now the sales team. The service team will actually sit with customers and say, look, let us show you how it works and how easy it is. And then once they've tried it for even just a few days, they can't live without it. And now with version 14, we're actually getting to the point where we almost feel comfortable allowing people to text and drive, which is kind of the killer app. Because that's really what people want to do. And do. Actually, right now the versions, the car's a little strict about keeping your eyes on the road. But I'm confident that in the next month or two, we're going to look closely at the safety statistics, but we will allow you to text and drive, essentially. Yeah. So, yeah. It's certainly been the current situation, which often people will actually turn off FSD to text, then turn it back on, which is less safe. So yeah, that's probably the single biggest thing is just get people aware of FSD. And then obviously we need to get it approved in Europe, so we certainly appreciate the support of our customers in Europe pushing the regulators to approve FSD, because you can't even get even just normal supervised FSD is not allowed in Europe currently, which doesn't make any sense. And I've had these like crazy conversations with the regulators that seem like a Franz Kafka novel, where I'm like, well, look, we have billions of kilometers of data that shows that FSD increases safety. And they're like, well, we have to have all these committee meetings. I'm like, yeah, but people's lives are at stake here. So definitely a pressure from our customers in Europe to push the regulators to approve would be appreciated. And then we have partial approval in China, and we hopefully will have full approval in China around February or March or so. That's what they've told us. The fact that every Tesla car is capable of full self-driving, every car we build and have built for the last several years is capable of full self-driving is pretty wild, and most people don't know that. So, and then we've got the first car that is specifically built for unsupervised full self-driving to be a Robotaxi. It's called a Cybercab. It doesn't even have pedals or a steering wheel. Yeah. So there's no side view mirrors. There's no So it's very much optimized for the lowest cost per mile in an autonomous mode. And that production is happening right here in this factory, and we'll be starting production in April next year. So the way that Cybercab is designed is it's designed obviously for a purely autonomous world, but also the manufacturing system is unlike any other car. The manufacturing system of the Cybercab it's closer to a high volume consumer electronics device than it is a car manufacturing line. So the net result is that I think we should be able to achieve, I think, ultimately less than a 10-second cycle time, basically a unit every 10 seconds. Maybe ultimately take a few years to get there, but it's theoretically possible to get to a 5-second production time. And so what that would mean is you could get on a line that would normally produce, say, 500,000 cars a year at a 1-minute cycle time, like Model Y, this would be maybe as much as 2 or 3 million. Maybe ultimately, it's theoretically possible to achieve a 5 million unit production line if you can get to the 5-second cycle time. So. A lot of cars. So these will be everywhere in the future. So, and we wanted to look futuristic, so it changes the look of the roads. Now The ingredients, when you look at what Optimus what's required to make Optimus and the various ingredients, what do you need to do high volume humanoid robot production? I think it's worth considering that really the cars we make are already robots, but they're four-wheeled robots. So Tesla is already the biggest robot manufacturer in the world because every car we make is a robot. And when you break it down to the fundamental elements, you've got batteries, power electronics, motors, gearboxes. You've got connectivity. You've got a vision-based AI. Hi, Optimus. And all the various pieces that you need for a humanoid robot. You need the AI chip. You need the AI software. You need to be able to manage a large fleet. And so really Optimus is a robot with arms and legs as opposed to a robot with wheels. So Tesla's ideally suited, I think, to succeed in this arena. You will see certainly many companies showing demonstration robots. There's really three things that are super difficult about robots. One is the engineering of the forearm and hand, because the human hand is an incredible thing, actually. It's super dexterous. So engineering the hand really well, the real-world AI, and then volume manufacturing. Those are generally the things that are missing. One or more of those things are missing from other companies. So Tesla is the only one that has all three of those. So this is the Optimus kind of initial, it's kind of the prototype production line. The high volume production line will be very automated, obviously, but this is really the production line that we use to make the prototypes. So you can get a sort of rough sense for what it takes to build the robot. Gotta pull the finger. And then, as I've said before, I think once we reach about 1 million units per year of sustained production or in excess of that, I think probably the cost of production is around $20,000 in current year dollars. So this will be certainly very affordable. Like I said, I think Optimus will ultimately increase the size of the economy probably by a factor of 10 or more. Next year we start production with Optimus version 3. What you're seeing here is Optimus version 2.5. Optimus 3 is an incredibly good design. The Tesla engineering team is amazing. When you see Optimus 3, it will seem as though that there's someone like a person in a robot outfit, which is how we started with Optimus. It really is going to be something special. And then Optimus 4, that hopefully starts production in 27, and then Optimus 5 in 28. So it's kind of like an annual release cycle with significant improvements with each one and gigantic increases in the scale of production. So, sustainable abundance via AI and robotics. That's the future we're headed for. And as I think most people here know, the safety statistics show that miles driven on FSD are much safer than miles driven without it. So what this will translate to ultimately is saving the lives of millions of people and preventing hundreds of millions of accidents. So a massive increase in lives solved and tragedies avoided. It's going to be amazing. And how many people here have tried 14.1? Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, you can see even with the point releases, it's getting quite a bit better. It should be pretty smooth at this point. But really, 14.2 there are major changes with 14.2 and then 14.3. And I think by 14.3 is when we'll really be at the point where you can just pretty much fall asleep and wake up at your destination. So. And then I've been putting a lot of time into the new Tesla chip design because in order to have a functional robot, you have to have a great AI chip. And it needs to be an inexpensive chip, and it needs to be very power efficient. So we believe the AI5 chip will be probably about a third of the power of, say, something like a Blackwell, an NVIDIA Blackwell, which is a great chip, for roughly comparable performance, and much less than 10% of the cost. So. This is a chip that is very much optimized for the Tesla AI software stack. So it's not meant to be a general purpose chip. It's meant to be an amazing chip for the Tesla AI software. A couple things that I think how is Tesla able to achieve such an improvement? I think it is because we are specialized. We're not trying to. NVIDIA has to serve the superset of all past and future customers. So all of their requirements, all of the software that they've written has to work, which is a very difficult problem. Whereas we just need to make it work for our software. And so we were able to simplify the chip dramatically. And then we also, I think we're unique in this, but we have an integer-based system. And integer operations are fundamentally more efficient than floating point operations. So we can do floating point, but the vast majority of our inference is done in integer, which is, if you're familiar with sort of logic gates, like the simplicity of integer, and integer is much more power efficient, much more silicon efficient, but you actually have to train for integer inference, which everyone else is training for floating point. That's kind of like a niche technical detail, but it's actually very important. So, this is going to be a great chip. So this chip will be made in 4 places: TSMC Taiwan, Samsung Korea, TSMC Arizona, and TSMC Texas. And we already know what improvements to make for AI6. So I'm hopeful that we can, within less than a year of AI5 starting production, we can actually transition in the same fab to AI6 and double all of the performance metrics. So. I'm super hardcore on chips right now, as you may be able to tell. I got chips on the brain. I dream about chips, literally. I can draw at least the broad brushstroke physical design of the AI5 chip by heart at this point. It's a good chip. It's a good chip, sir. So this is really key. Now, one of the things I'm trying to figure out is how do we make enough chips? So, I have a lot of respect for the Tesla partners, TSMC and Samsung. Maybe we'll do something with Intel. We haven't signed any deal, but it's probably worth having discussions with Intel. But even when we extrapolate the best case scenario for chip production from our suppliers, it's still not enough. So I think we may have to do a Tesla terafab. So it's like Giga, but way bigger. I can't see any other way to get to the volume of chips that we're looking for. So I think we're probably going to have to build a gigantic chip fab. It's got to be done. So anyway, some of the stuff I've already talked about. We've done a tremendous amount for sustainable energy, and that's only going to grow over time. The world is moving towards a solar battery economy, which is ultimately that's where it was going to go anyway. But what Tesla's done is accelerate that outcome. Sometimes people don't understand quite how much energy comes from the sun. So the sun is 99.8% of all mass in the solar system, Jupiter being 0.1%, and then 0.1% is miscellaneous, Earth being in the miscellaneous category. So the total amount of energy, sometimes people say, well, we'll build fusion reactors on Earth. It's like, well, actually the giant fusion reactor in the sky is basically impossible to beat. To such a degree that even if you could burn Jupiter in a thermonuclear reactor, the amount of energy produced by the sun would still round up to 100%. That's how much energy the sun produces. So solar power is necessarily the future. And I think there's going to be a lot of solar-powered AI satellites. And I think Tesla's going to play a role in that. We've obviously refreshed the product line, so S3XY. If people haven't tried the Model S, 3X or Y, or the Cybertruck, I recommend at least getting a test drive or a test ride, as the case may be. Try out the full self-driving, and I think you'll be blown away. To those who do not, if you might be listening and don't have a Tesla, you should try one. And of course, we've got the Cybertruck, which is the toughest truck of all time. It's literally bulletproof, faster than a Porsche 911, and can out-tow a Ford F-350. So it's a great car, great truck. And then starting next year, we manufacture the Tesla Semi. So this is already, we already have a lot of prototype Tesla Semis in operation. PepsiCo and other companies have been using the Tesla Semi for quite some time. But we will start volume production at our Northern Nevada factory in 2026. So we've got two big products, or three massive products starting production next year. We've got Optimus, we've got Tesla Semi, and we've got the Cybercab. and then battery packs. So if you look at total U.S. power generation capability, it's roughly a terawatt. But the average power usage is less than half a terawatt. And that's because there are big differences in power usage between day and night. So the daily and seasonal variations in power consumption mean that the United States, and really every country, is only producing about half as much electrical energy as it could. Because without batteries, there's no effective way to buffer the energy. So what batteries actually enable is, even if you don't build any incremental power plants, you could double the energy output of the United States just with batteries. This is a super big deal. And in fact, I think that's really where most of the incremental energy production in the United States is going to come from. It's literally batteries. So, a bigger deal than it may seem. And then we keep improving the battery design, so the Mega Block, which makes it really easy to deploy battery, utility scale batteries. So we've just simplified and brought more of the components to be internal to the batteries, so you can just show up and drop off a battery and it works. And then hopefully over time we will actually add more and more of the power electronics so that Megapack will actually be able to output up to 35 kilovolts directly. So you won't need a substation, is what I'm saying. You can just literally drop it off, kind of like the way that a Powerwall, you just connect it to the house, the utility wires go on one side and the other side goes to the house mains, and that's it. So we want to get Megapack to the point where you just literally take the utility wires and you plug them in, and it just works. So. Then we've also built the world's largest supercharger network. So we do a lot of things here at Tesla. That's the biggest supercharger network in the world by far. And ultimately, you'll be able to go anywhere on Earth using a Tesla supercharger. And it's pretty close to anywhere on Earth, but it's going to be ultimately just anywhere. It'll just work anywhere. So the supercharger team has done great work expanding that and improving the efficiency of the supercharger network. And in North America, they did such a good job that the other car companies basically said, well, they'll just use the Tesla supercharger network. I'm like, okay, sounds good to us. It's always important to have a slide on safety in the factory, so we continue to improve safety for our factory workers. We care a lot about their well-being. Like one way you can just tell if a company is a good company or not, if you just walk through the factory or walk through the office and catch the vibe. And the vibe in the Tesla factory is good. People are happy. That's how you know it's a good company. We've also put a lot of investment into raw materials. So we've built in South Texas and Corpus Christi the biggest lithium refinery outside of China, I believe. So it's starting off with 50 gigawatt hours of lithium, and we'll expand from there. So this is a very, very important to have. In a worst-case scenario, that we have the ingredients necessary to make a battery. Very important. And then we've got here on this site the cathode factory, which is just the sort of giant building about a half mile that way. And we're just making sure that we, from a supply chain standpoint, are resilient against any potential geopolitical challenges. And then also at this factory, we also make the 4680 cell, which is getting better and better. And that 4680 cell will be used in the Cybercab. It is being used in the Cybertruck and will be used in the Cybercab and also in Optimus. So that's going well. But we continue, obviously, to get cells from many suppliers. It's kind of like the chip fab thing. We'll take as many chips as our suppliers can provide us, but then beyond that, if they can't provide us with any incremental cells or chips, we kind of have to make them ourselves or we get stuck. That's the Tesla Semi factory. So it's going to be pretty cool to see these going down the road in scale. Yeah, so that's the basic plan. Sustainable abundance for all.
I hope you enjoyed listening to that. I was taking notes on the fly, just sort of some stream of consciousness thoughts as I was listening to it, and then I went back, listened to it again, and made some more careful notes, more considered notes. And so I'll start here. I've got a number of points I want to hit on after listening to that. As I alluded to earlier, while I am very much a Tesla enthusiast, I don't think that's really in doubt. I mean, I wouldn't be doing this podcast, let alone every single week for the past 10 years and counting, if I wasn't. But pardon me if I'm a bit skeptical at some of those Optimus claims. In that speech, Elon mentioned Optimus ending poverty, replacing prison by having robots follow convicted criminals around and stopping them from doing further crimes, Optimus being the best surgeon, and Optimus being an infinite money glitch. Now, in fairness, he did caveat some of that by saying these are, quote, wild concepts. And while I really do appreciate the optimism, truly, just maybe we should temper expectations a little bit so as to avoid any potential avoidable disappointment down the road. Because these are just absurdly grandiose visions here, which again, yes, have those visions, strive for those visions, but maybe 2025 at the shareholder meeting before Optimus has even gone into production, maybe that's not the best time to start giving the absolute best case scenario for this thing. So I couldn't help but take note of that. But one other Optimus note I'll throw in too, aside from the Gen 3 version of Optimus going into production next year, Elon mentioned the first pilot line of Optimus being a 1 million unit per year line in Fremont. Now the Fremont part's what kind of jumped out at me, because my question is, where in Fremont? From what we've been told, Fremont is effectively bursting at the seams, and Tesla has maxed out that facility. Now, certainly, a humanoid robot line, I would think, I don't know for sure, is physically much smaller than a vehicle production line, but I hope that nothing drastic would have to happen in order to accommodate that 1 million unit per year Optimus line in Fremont. And when I think of drastic, because my brain went straight to, oh, I hope they're not gonna sunset the Model S and Model X and use the S and X production line for Optimus. That was the first place my brain went. It just jumped straight to what would, for me as a Tesla car enthusiast and someone that has repeatedly said that S and X are two of the greatest cars in the world. Again, I've said it 100 times, here's 101. I think the Plaid Model S is the best overall car in the world, taking everything into consideration: price, design, performance, safety, driver assistance features, technology, all that stuff. Plaid S, best car in the world. So it would crush me. It would crush my heart if S and X had to go in favor of Optimus. So hopefully that's not going to be the case. Now, there were, moving along past Optimus, because obviously there was plenty more in that presentation besides just Optimus. There were a couple of things in there that were on the slide deck that accompanied the presentation that were shown on the live stream that I was watching live as it happened that Elon did not actually mention. And thus, I certainly want to mention them here for you because they are notable. Now, the first one of those was about Robotaxi, and one of the slides listed the next markets that Robotaxi will be entering into. It had them listed at the bottom of the slide on the screen. Those cities are Las Vegas, Phoenix, Dallas, Houston, and Miami. Now, a couple of those we already knew about, but a couple we didn't. So if you happen to be in any of those cities, get ready. Robotaxi is absolutely great, and in my experience, and also in my experience thus far, it has been pretty consistently cheaper than both Uber and Waymo thus far. Again, here in the San Francisco Bay Area, I've every time I've used Robotaxi, or at least every time I've remembered, which is most of the time, I book the Robotaxi and then I check the price on the other two just to see. And every single time I've checked, it's been usually at least a little cheaper, and in most cases, quite a bit cheaper. So Vegas, Phoenix, Dallas, Houston, Miami, you all are on deck for Robotaxi. I did very much appreciate Elon saying that Tesla needs to educate customers about FSD. And he gave a great example of Tesla stores and service centers offering demos to customers. That is absolutely a great step. I love seeing that. But Elon, if you're listening, which he's not, but just bear with me. Go with me on this. Elon, you are so close to the next step of this, good sir, and that is advertising. Let's do it. Let's start planning that for when unsupervised FSD hits. Let's advertise to the mainstream public that isn't terminally online like so many of us are and isn't plugged into the Teslaverse online. Like, let's get out and stretch past that onto television, onto just traditional forms of media. Let's tell the world and educate them about full self-driving. So I love this first step for him, that he's making demos happen in stores and service centers. Hopefully, proper, widespread advertising is up next. Although, I have to say, speaking of unsupervised, I couldn't help but chuckle a little bit when he said that, well, you should be able to text while driving in your car in another month or two. And I wasn't laughing at the idea of that, because that'd be great, but rather at NHTSA probably laughing when they heard that, because NHTSA's sitting there going, yeah, not without our approval, buddy. And I don't think NHTSA's just going to flip the switch on that and rubber stamp it in another month or two. It's going to happen eventually. It will happen. I'm not trying to be a pessimist, but Elon said that as if regulators will just go ahead and approve that without even a second thought. And there's going to be a regulatory process before anybody is legally sitting on their phone texting while the car is doing the driving. So that might not be a month or two away, is all I'm trying to say there. Just temper your expectations a little bit. Another nugget at the bottom of a slide that Elon actually did say like a minute or so later in the presentation, so you did hear it if you listened to that whole thing, was that the start of production for the Cybercab will be in April. We already had been told Q2, in fact, right at the earnings call very recently, Q2, but now April specifically. So, hey, April is actually early in Q2. That is something to look forward to. That means, I'm recording this on November 7th. That means we're talking 5 months away. That is from the start of production. That is pretty cool. Yeah, that's right around the corner. Good to see it. I mean, there are already cybercabs starting to run around, engineering prototypes, validation cars running around Texas, running around the San Francisco Bay Area. So the process is happening, as we've seen with other vehicles, with the Cybertruck and then the Model Y before that. A couple other notes that I wrote down from his presentation. One, he said that Tesla can transition to the AI6 chip in the fabrication plants at TSMC and Samsung within about a year of starting production on the AI5 chip. So does that mean, I'm legitimately asking here, does that mean that the AI5 chip is going to be a short-lived one? Like it's more of a stopgap between AI4 and AI6? I mean, Elon's been talking up the AI5 chip quite a bit, but that just threw me for a loop when he said that the AI6 chip can be transitioned to in the fabrication plants within a year of starting production on AI5. Meaning, unless I'm just not understanding the chip making terminology properly, it sure sounds like the AI6 chip will actually start getting made about a year after AI5 goes into production. So if I am misunderstanding him there, if I have any chip experts out there that want to correct me if I've got that wrong, please do reach out and let me know. You can email me, teslapodcast@gmail.com. You can call in if you like. Actually, I guess I might as well give you the call-in information real quick, because this is a typically long special episode and I'm not going to have time to get to your phone calls. You can send in Ride the Lightning Hotline phone calls in one of two easy ways. Either use your smartphone's built-in voice recording software and just use that software, record the question. Please try to keep it to 90 seconds or less so that I can get to as many callers each week as possible. And you can email that file to me at teslapodcast@gmail.com. Or you can simply call my toll-free number and leave a message on the Ride the Lightning hotline. You can do so anytime, day or night, and the number is 1-888-989-8752. Again, that's 1-888-989-TSLA. Okay, one more thing that you could see on a slide, but you couldn't hear in the audio of Elon's presentation, is that the Tesla, because he actually didn't address it, strangely enough, the Tesla Semi, the final production version of it, has received a design update and a new look, a slightly new look. It's not a drastic one, but it will be noticeably different. So instead of two just vertical headlights, kind of more traditional headlights on the front of it, it has got a light bar across the front now that looks almost identical to the light bar on the front of the new Model Y. Except, of course, the one for the Semi is much wider, since the Semi itself is wider than the Y. But it's that same exact design language from the new Model Y being applied to the final production version of the Tesla Semi that'll start spitting out of the Tesla Semi factory early next year, to the tune of, once they ramp up, to the tune of 50,000 Tesla Semis per year. And I'll just say, I think it looks really nice. I mean, I thought the Tesla Semi looked good before, but I do think this updated look is an improvement. Looks super nice, looks a little bit more futuristic now, and that's probably what Franz and the team were going for. They wanted a Tesla Semi that looked like the future. You know, we hear that from Elon a lot. The future should look like the future. And so the Tesla Semi has been given a styling tweak. And then finally, the last comment I wanted to make off of Elon's presentation there, and correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but I believe that might be the first time that we got confirmation that the 4680 cells will be going in the Cybercab, the Semi, and Optimus. Now, he didn't mention the Semi, but it was on the slide that was on the screen as he was talking there. So that means Tesla is, probably wisely, sort of divvying up their battery. They're not putting all their eggs in one battery basket. You've got the Model 3 and the Model Y, two high volume cars. I mean, combined those, that's like 1.5-ish, 1.5 to 1.8 million cars per year are getting the 2170 battery cells that have been super reliable here for the past, 7 years and counting. The Model S and the Model X continue to get the 18650 cells that they've been using since the beginning. So, I mean, the chemistry has changed and evolved over time, and the thermals have evolved over time, particularly in the Plaid. But the form factor itself has been in use since 2012, since the very first Model S. And then the 4680 cells will go into everything else, with an asterisk on that. We don't know what Tesla's going to do with the Roadster. We know it's going to be high tech, it's going to be crazy. We'll see if it's got 4680 form factor cells or if they're using something else. That we will find out. Well, we actually have a date for when we might find that out, but stay tuned for the Q&A clips coming up momentarily. In fact, let's start now. Let's start right now that with the highlights from the Q&A session where shareholders in attendance lined up for the chance to ask Elon a question. And to his credit, they tried to cut him off. Like a Tesla rep was like, "This will be the last question." And Elon said, "Oh, I'll take a few more." And he ended up taking a number more questions. So good on him for that, for putting in a little bit of extra time to hear from some more Tesla owners, Tesla shareholders. The first clip I'd like to play for you was a question that I personally applaud. And the question was, can we please get FSD tied to our Tesla accounts rather than tied to an individual car? Here was Elon's response to that.
Well, we have done that a few times. I guess we could extend it again. All right, we'll extend it. We'll extend it for at least another quarter, and then play it by ear after that. All right.
So even though Elon actually sidestepped the question slightly there, he did not address the actual question of having it be an account-based thing rather than a car-based thing. He answered it as if the gentleman was asking for FSD transfer, as we have had it for a while. Whoops, sorry, I just tapped my microphone on accident if that made a noise. I still want to salute the gentleman that asked this question. Again, it's a great way to politely keep the pressure on. As I've said before, it sure seems like Tesla has unofficially made FSD transfer permanent, which would actually solve the quote-unquote problem of, or at least it would address our desire as owners to have it be more of an account-based thing rather than a car-based thing. And because really I share the gentleman's opinion, and I know I'm not alone, that we pay a lot of money for FSD, and FSD's still not there yet. It should transfer from car to car. And so Elon's saying there that they're going to extend it another quarter, which presumably means Q1, since we're already in the middle of Q4. But he wouldn't quite commit to making it permanent there, at least not yet. Although, again, as I've said, it seems like it's unofficially permanent because they just keep extending it quarter after quarter after quarter. So we'll just keep our eye on it and see if it continues to survive from one quarter to the next. Next up was a good question about accessibility. Will Tesla build something that can accommodate a wheelchair?
Sure. Obviously we need a vehicle that's big enough to fit a wheelchair, if it's wheelchair accessible. So I think that is the Robovin or Robus or whatever we call it. It's not like we're slowing down because we want to slow down. It's like we're spinning like a zillion plates here. But I do think it would be very cool because I think aesthetically as well, it just would change the look of the roads and make it feel like the future. So it won't be long before we make that, but since we do have Optimus, we've got Cybercab, Optimus, and Semi all next year. We'll probably have to be maybe the year that, a couple years from now or something like that. But we certainly will make a wheelchair accessible vehicle.
This is another question that I was really glad to see asked, because accessibility is important, especially as we head into the age of autonomy, where autonomy can help restore people's accessibility and I should say mobility. It can help restore people's mobility for whom accessibility may be a challenge. So it sounds like a wheelchair accessible Tesla, and by that I mean a Tesla that can accommodate a wheelchair without any modifications, or at worst maybe very minor modifications to the vehicle, rather than like the equivalent of automotive open heart surgery, which is kind of how it is now. But it sounds like that wheelchair accessible Tesla isn't imminent. But again, I think it's good to put it on Elon's mind, because the Robovan, or Robovan if you want to, it's just going to be too big for individual. I know it might have been tough to see on the We Robot live stream from last year, but having had the privilege of being physically at the event, the Robovan is enormous. Like, it is huge. I wouldn't say it's the size of your traditional, like, full-size city bus, but it's far larger than any regular passenger vehicle. So the Robovan is going to be too big for individual use cases, and probably even far too big for a single family use case. And thus, there needs to be something else that Tesla can build that can assist with this. Again, mobility, it is a big part of what autonomy can either enable for someone or better enable. So, glad this got asked. Glad it has been put into the front of Elon's mind. The next Q&A response I want to play for you started out as an answer to a question about how the dry cathode battery cell production process is going. And as you'll hear, it ended up giving some numbers about where vehicle production for Tesla is heading. Take a listen.
Yeah, I guess the dry cathode, man, that's turned out to be a lot harder than we thought. It does look like it's going to be successful, and it will have some cost advantage relative to wet cathode. But if I had to wind the clock back, I would probably have gone with wet cathode instead of dry cathode, because it just turned out to be a lot harder to make it, capable of high volume production with super high reliability. But we will be scaling up battery cell production at Tesla. And looking for cell production from our suppliers as well, because we're going to be ramping up production very dramatically at Tesla. So now that we believe we have full self-driving, that we have autonomy solved, or at least are within a few months of having it unsupervised autonomy solved at a reliability level significantly better than human. That means it's time to ramp up production, because the value proposition is now much greater than a regular car. The killer app really is for people: can you text and drive, or can you sleep and drive? Can the car take you to your destination, or do you need to pay attention and have to drive it? Before we allow the car to be driven without paying attention, we need to make sure it's very safe. But like I said, we're on the cusp of that. I know I've said that a few times, but we really are at this point, and you can feel it for yourselves with the 14.1 release. What we're going to push to expand vehicle production as fast as we possibly can. So aspirationally, we'd aim to increase vehicle production by about 50% by the end of next year. So it's very hard to increase production, but that's roughly, I don't know, maybe we get to like, I'm just guessing, at an exit rate by the end of next year of around 2.6, 2.7 million vehicles, annualized production, and then aim to get to maybe 4 million by the annualized rate by the end of 27, and then maybe 5 million by the end of 28. Those are our aspirational goals. So this is a gigantic increase in output, which means that the entire supply chain has to move in unison with that increase in volume. And the nature of producing a large complex product is that it moves as fast as the least lucky, dumbest element in the entire system, and there's 10,000 plus items. But this, like I said, this really is it's not just a new chapter for Tesla, it's a new book. And that new book is massively increasing vehicle production and ramping up Optimus production faster than anything's ever been ramped up before in history.
It's interesting to hear that Elon feels like the dry cathode experiment was something of a failed one. But this is one thing that I have always appreciated about him and about Tesla. They're not afraid to not only try things, even if they don't always work out, to fail fast, if you will, but they also just are cool with openly admitting and discussing those failures as well. In fact, an example from the distant past that comes immediately to mind, just to illustrate that they've always been this way, is the battery swap station. If you're not familiar with it, the quick version of this is, back in the early Model S days, when the supercharger network was in its infancy, Tesla set up a battery swap station at Harris Ranch on Interstate 5 between San Francisco and Los Angeles. You would pull in, a machine would quickly come up and from underneath your car, unbolt your battery pack, drop it from your car, and put it away and charge it, and install a fully charged battery pack that it already had charged up and ready to go, so that you could continue on your way in something like 5 minutes. It was pretty crazy. And then you would, on your way home, on your way back, you would pick up your battery, so you were basically borrowing a fully charged battery. So Tesla tried that. They realized it was going to be too mechanically and logistically complicated, and they instead decided to ditch that and not only invest in the supercharger network, but also invest in faster supercharger speeds. V2, then V3, and now here we are today with V4 superchargers that can max out on a Cybertruck at 500 kilowatts. Anyway, I think it's cool to hear where Tesla intends to take production in the next few years as well. This is sort of the part 2 of what Elon was talking about there. A 5 million vehicle per year run rate, notice that's not necessarily actually having delivered 5 million in the year, but be on a pace, like a weekly run rate that would extrapolate out to 5 million by the end of 2028, aka 3 years from now. It is a far cry from the 20 million per year goal by 2030 that they'd set back at Battery Day in 2020 and have since walked back now that Optimus has changed their plans, but 5 million is still a heck of a lot more than where they're at now. So I applaud it, I anticipate it, I look forward to it, and I hope the day comes soon where Tesla delivers 5 million cars in a year. Next up, a very kind soul asked about the new Tesla Roadster, and here's Elon's response.
I feel confident in saying it will be the most exciting product unveil ever. And I hope that whether it goes well or doesn't go well.
Since I'm up here, can I get the first one?
Well, I guess it's according to whoever put down their deposit in that sequence. So that's but you'll get a very early one, and I mean, the new Roadster is very much sort of like it's not even the icing on the cake; it's the cherry on the icing on the cake. So, I mean, it's really kind of like, it's like it's not essential for sustainable abundance. Let me put it that way. But I do think there should be, very cool technology in the world that is that's way beyond anything that's ever existed, and I think I'd like those, like even if I could never have access to those things, I'd like to know that they exist and see the future happening. So I think it will be inspiring to a lot of people, and just it's extreme. It's like the coolest car, if it even is a car, that will probably ever exist.
So nothing we haven't really heard before. In fact, just as recently as last week when he was on Joe Rogan, but I did like what he said about it being inspiring, because as cheesy as this might sound to some of you, and hey, if it does, it's all good, I get it. But for others of you listening, perhaps you were like me in this regard, and that is, as a kid, I had posters of exotic cars. I feel like we didn't call them supercars back then, or at least, I don't know, I didn't think I remember hearing that term as a kid, but exotic cars, I had posters of them on my walls, and they did inspire me. They really did. I ended up getting to own my original dream car in the form of a DeLorean. And that was such a special part of my life that I'm so forever grateful for. And having cars that inspired me did matter. And so I do believe that having one of the goals of this new Roadster be to inspire people, I think that's important, and I think that's pretty cool. So again, maybe that's cheesy to you, but it's not to me. I think it's pretty great. 2 more clips for you. The next one I have is in response to an excellent question about whether or not Elon thinks that the Cybercab might be ready to go, in terms of meaning production-wise, before the government regulations approving it are. And here's what Elon had to say about that.
Yeah, I think the rate at which we receive regulatory approval will roughly match the rate of Cybercab production. It'll be maybe a little tight, but it's about right. And I'd like to thank Waymo for paving the path here. It's very helpful. But I think we'll be able to deploy all the Cybercabs that we produce. And the other thing is, like, once it becomes like extremely normal in cities, it's just going to become the regulators will have just fewer and fewer reasons to say no. And then you've got this, you've got the accident statistics at scale, and you can show that autonomous miles save lives. And you've got unequivocal, billions of miles to prove it. Then I think it's hard for regulators to say no.
I have to take Elon at face value here because A, he has government contacts, and B, it would be shareholder malpractice for them to be charging full speed ahead on Cybercab, with production slated to start in April, if they thought there was any real chance of the government regulators stopping them in their tracks right as production is starting. So I have to believe that Elon's confidence there is well placed. All right, the last clip that I have for you is another one about the Roadster. Hey, I didn't ask the questions. If you're rolling your eyes like, oh, another Roadster, it wasn't me. I wasn't there. So here's another question about the Roadster. It's an excellent question about, well, you know what? I'm going to let the shareholder ask the question himself. Take a listen.
Hi, Elon. My name is Jonathan. You mentioned that the Roadster will have more tech than all the James Bond vehicles combined. Do you think there's any possibility that any of that tech will make it into the current vehicle lineup?
No.
And to follow up on that, do you have any estimate of production or delivery timelines for the Roadster?
I guess, so we're aiming for the product unveiled will be of the Roadster 2, which will be very different from what was shown previously. That demo event will be April 1st of next year. I have some deniability because, like, I could say I was just kidding. But we are actually tentatively aiming for April 1st for this, what I think will be the most exciting, whether it works or not, demo ever of any product. And then I guess production is probably about 12 to 18 months after that. I think production is probably a year or so after that. Oh, well, I can't give away the secrets, but you won't be disappointed.
I couldn't help but laugh at the very blunt no that Elon responded with there to the question about the Roadster tech trickling down into the other cars. So this thing really is going to be a unicorn, both amongst other Teslas and most likely within the entire automotive world. I can't wait to see what it looks like now, and I certainly can't wait to see what it's capable of. I did furrow my brow at the April 1st date that he gave for the re-reveal event, though, because not only did Franz tell me just 3 weeks ago that they were still on track to do the re-reveal this year, but Elon himself told Joe Rogan the same thing last week, that they're still on track to do it in the next couple months. So perhaps they had some sort of setback with one of its SpaceX-powered tricks. I don't know. But in any case, I will circle in pencil, not in pen, I will circle in pencil April 1st on my calendar and hope that that's when it's finally going to happen. And it seems I was right, not that it was some grand, prediction. I was right about starting the countdown clock to production once that event happens. Now, I was saying 18 to 24 months from the re-reveal, and I was kind of saying that almost as a buffer because, Tesla and timelines don't always go together. Elon said 12 to 18, so hopefully his estimate's the real one, or maybe it'll just kind of end up meeting right in the middle, right at 18 months. But if that's the case, if it's 18 months from the re-reveal, that means production would start, in the range he gave anyway. Forget about what I said. His range, it would be starting sometime between Q2 and Q3 of 2027. So we shall see on that. And that's everything that I wanted to play for you from the annual Tesla shareholder meeting for the year 2025. Hope you enjoyed all of those clips, all of the analysis, and I will get to, as I mentioned earlier, this is already a super long episode, so I'll get to your phone calls next week. If you want to call in response to something I said or something Elon said in the shareholder meeting, feel free to call in using one of the two easy call-in methods that I gave you just a few minutes ago. As for what's going on with me and my car, well, not my car specifically. I drove my car to do this. Today was a bit of a bittersweet day in the McCaffrey household. Our service dog puppy with canine companions, our second one, Mina, she matriculated today. So she went off to, as I like to call it, she went off to college. So she is now at the Canine Companions headquarters, where she will work with their professional trainers every day, learning advanced skills. And hopefully over the course of the next several months, as they teach her and assess her and evaluate her, she will be deemed good enough to graduate and become someone's service dog so that she can help somebody out there who needs her and help that person live a more independent life. We will miss her. It was definitely a lot less emotionally difficult this time than with Zelina. Zelina, that was tough. This one, it still wasn't easy, right, to say goodbye, but that she has the temperament. Like, she wants to work. She loves to work. So she's now going to be working hard every day. Like, she's going to be challenged to learn all these cool new advanced skills. I am genuinely excited for her, and I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to co-raise that dog with my friend Michael and his family for the last, I guess, 15 months or so. Yeah, it's been about 15 months, I think, is what it was. So again, I'll just say, I don't work for Canine Companions. Obviously, I'm just a volunteer puppy raiser. But if that might be something that you and your family would be interested in, is raising a puppy and kind of providing them a loving environment and teaching them basic skills. Canine Companions is nationwide. So their website is canine.org, and it's canine the word, not the letter K and the number 9. So canine.org. If you'd like to maybe take a look and learn more, it's an incredibly fulfilling, just absolutely satisfying thing to do. And, it's a small way that, the way I feel about it is, it's a small way that my family and I can just help give something back to somebody, to the community, really. And maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's overstating it, but we really enjoyed it. We are taking a little break here because we've got Lily, and Lily's still very much a puppy. She's 8 months old. Just going to give her some time to grow up a little bit, just mature. But I think we will definitely be puppy raisers for Canine Companions again. It's really, truly a really rewarding experience. How about an entertainment recommendation for you? I did mention this game before, but it was in the context of there being a free playable demo that you could go try out. Well, now the game's actually out, and I've started it, and it is fantastic so far. I'm only 1 episode in out of the 8 episodes, but I want to recommend the new game called Dispatch. It is from some ex-Telltale developers, so if you liked any of the old Telltale narrative adventure games like The Walking Dead or The Wolf Among Us or the Batman game that they did, or they did a Game of Thrones game, they did Tales from the Borderlands, they did so much great stuff. But so it's a group of ex-Telltale folks, because Telltale unfortunately kind of crashed and burned through mismanagement at the top. But that's a whole other story that's not relevant for this entertainment recommendation. But Dispatch is very much a Telltale style game. It's told episodically. It's very narrative driven, but you have some control. You have narrative choice. But there is also a little light strategy game layer. Now it's nothing complicated, nothing too complex. If the idea of that's I don't want to do that. That sounds like too much. Give it a try. You'd have to buy the game, I guess, because the demo is no longer available. But I'm really digging it. If you like Telltale stuff, you're going to love this. I will say that confidently. Dispatch is on PC and PlayStation 5. Sadly, it's not available on Xbox. At least not for the moment. Maybe it'll come out in a year or something. But for now, PC and PlayStation 5. All right, time for your Tesla Pro Tip of the Week. It comes from Damon in Northbrook, Illinois, has a tip about FSD version 14. Go ahead, Damon.
Hey Ryan, this is Damon out of Northbrook, Illinois, with a quick tip here for the new FSD version 14. If you are looking to increase the speed or decrease the speed of the car like you would in past versions by moving it up by single miles per hour or 5 miles per hour increments with the scroll wheel, they've now done away with that, so you switch through the profiles with the scroll wheel. But you'll find that if you're in the fastest profile and you want to get to the slowest for, let's say, a school zone or something, and you're trying to scroll down with the wheel, it takes a while. There's a delay in between all the scroll. No matter how fast you might wheel it around, there's a delay in the system. But if you use the side buttons to switch profiles, you can quickly tap, 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 go down to the sloth mode or go up to Mad Max pretty quickly, and with just clicking it like that. So still getting used to this new system. Not entirely sure that I like not being able to cap the speed, but hopefully the algorithm learns a little bit more about appropriate speeds in appropriate places. But yeah, thanks. So take care, and I'll look forward to the next one. Bye.
I love that one, Damon. Thank you so much. I appreciate you calling in with it. I'm going to put that one to use myself as I get more and more comfortable with FSD version 14 on my newer Model 3. A reminder that if you have a Tesla or EV pro tip of the week, I'd love to hear it so that I can share it with everyone. So if you've got one, please do call in with it. There are 2 easy ways to call in. I gave you the call-in instructions there a little while ago. So just all you got to do is send it in like it's a regular Ride the Lightning hotline call, and I'll take a listen to it and add it to my queue for the Pro Tips of the Week, which, of course, I play one at this part of the podcast every single week. It is a purely community-sourced part of the show, and I love the Pro Tip of the Week. I think it's super helpful for everybody. Not every tip is going to, set off a big light bulb in your mind. But I guarantee you, if you've been listening long enough, you've gotten some benefit out of the Pro Tip of the Week, right? I know I have. I definitely have. So thank you, Damon, for this week's, and thank you in advance to anybody else out there that wants to call in with a new one. I know I'm already past the 90-minute mark here on this very long episode, shareholder meeting recap episode. But before I go, I wanted to mention a few friends of Ride the Lightning that can hopefully be useful to you at some point sooner or later. Starting with abstractocean.com. They've got so many great aftermarket Tesla accessories. A lot of different lighting kits. If you want to change the color of the lighting in your car on the inside or even outside of your car, maybe you want to do some puddle lights. They've got a lot of that stuff. They've got the tempered glass screen protectors, custom fit for any of the Teslas, as well as Rivians. They've got just so many different things. You got to take a look over at abstractocean.com. And when you get everything you like into your online shopping cart and you get to checkout, use the coupon code RTLPodcast to get 15% off of your first order. That coupon code again, RTLPodcast, all one word, no spaces. Meanwhile, the Snap Plate and the newer, stronger Snap Plate Plus is available for all of the Teslas at everyamp.com/RTL, or just click the link in the episode description. There's also a coupon code for a discount. That coupon code is simply RTL. And the Snap Plate, if you're wondering what this is the front license plate bracket that I recommend if you either want one on the front of your car or are legally required to have one. The one that Tesla gives you sticks to the front of your car with automotive tape, meaning if you ever want to get it off, yikes. So I'm a big fan of the Snap Plate. It's a nice, clean, minimalist design. If you ever want to take it off, it won't leave any unsightly anything behind. No evidence that it was ever there. So I'm a big fan. Snap Plate and the newer, stronger Snap Plate Plus available at everyamp.com/RTL, discounted via the coupon code RTL as well. Meanwhile, Immaculate Reflections, such a wonderfully talented detailer. Jeff is his name. He is awesome. He's done both of our Model 3s, and I just couldn't be happier. Couldn't be happier with the work that he's done. Paint correction to get the paint finish looking as good as possible. Maybe you'd like that for your car. Paint protection film on some or all of the car in order to help protect that paint against rock chips, road debris, scratches, etc. Ceramic coating to protect the paint from those UV rays from the sun. It's basically the 21st century next-gen version of traditional car wax. That's what ceramic coating is. It lasts a good 5 to 7 years. Ask me how I know. Our 2018 finally just reached end of life on its ceramic coating after 7 years. And now, as soon as I get some other household bills paid, I'm going to go right back to Immaculate Reflections for another ceramic coating over the entire car. And I'm so looking forward to that because I see it now when it gets wet and the water doesn't just bead off of it anymore like it does when it's ceramic coated. And now it's just like, oh man, I got to get it ceramic coated. Thankfully, it lives under the cover, because it's outside. So at least as far as the UV part goes, it's not like being cooked. The paint's not being cooked in the sun. But hopefully in the next 2-3 months, I'll be able to free up enough money to get over there to Immaculate Reflections and get the 2018 Model 3 Performance that I call the Spirit of Adventure. Get that thing with a fresh coat of ceramic on it. So anyway, there's a Ride the Lightning discount for any services that you do end up having done at Immaculate Reflections if you're in or going to be in the greater San Francisco Bay Area. Go to the website, irdetailing.com. You'll see a contact form there. When you fill that out and submit it, make sure to mention that you're a Ride the Lightning listener, and any work that you have done, you'll get that Ride the Lightning listener discount applied. Tell Jeff I said hi. Tell Jeff I sent you, and tell him I said hi. He's good people, and I promise you will be thrilled with the service performed on your car. Finally, my Patreon, I mentioned it a little while ago near the top of the podcast, but if you'd humor me for one more minute here, you can find my Patreon page at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast, or just click the link in the episode description. Patreon is the way that you can best support this podcast. If you'd like to support it, please head over to that page, take a look. There are several different support tiers, starting at just $5 a month. And again, as I think I mentioned earlier, there are also annual pledge options. If you just like to pledge once for an entire year of support, there's a 10% discount on that if you happen to see fit to do that. And otherwise, each tier of the Patreon has more and more perks that stack up. So you get up to the maximum plaid tier, you'll get your name shouted out, as I'm going to do in a few minutes. You'll also get invited to those monthly Patreon Zoom hangouts that we always have such a good time at. You'll also get the lightning rounds every week and the entire archive of them. You'll also get the ad-free. You'll also get the early access. You get the idea. The higher you go on those tiers, the more perks and bonuses you get. But again, the support tiers start for just $5 a month. You can be supporting what I'm doing here, and in return, get early access to an ad-free version of Ride the Lightning every single week. And lastly, the podcast services. If you're not already following Ride the Lightning on a particular podcast service, if you've got one you prefer, just search Ride the Lightning Tesla. You should see this podcast pop right up, and just click the follow button. That way, every time there's a new episode, which is every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific, you'll get a push notification reminding you about that new episode. Just tap that, take you right to the show page, and you'll start listening to it. Nice and easy, nice and convenient. So you can follow me on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube Podcasts, on Spotify, and TuneIn, and pretty much all the big ones. Oh, and you can follow me on X and or on Instagram. I have the same username in both places, and that username is DMC_Ryan. You can also email me anytime about Tesla or EV-related things at teslapodcast@gmail.com. Allow me to say hello and thank you to the top-tier Patreon backers before I go. I'll begin with the newest maximum plaid tier backer. Hello and thank you goes out to Michael Williams. Really appreciate your support, Michael. I hope you enjoy all the lightning round episodes and your early access and your ad-free, and hopefully you'll join us at the next monthly Patreon Zoom hangout, which will be in most likely the first Saturday of December. That's what I'll be aiming for, unless something else comes up, but that's most likely where we're going to be. Anyway, I'll send out emails and the Patreon post when the time gets closer. So, Michael, thank you so much, and thanks as well to the rest of the Maximum Plaid backers, who are Jonathan Wales, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, Nick and Tony, the Galpin family, Ryan from New York City, Darren Nickel, Kaz Barnes, Patrick Wisniewski, Gil Cabrera, Todd Badger, Joe Edgel, Kevin Yank, the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley, Will Stedman, Jeremy Harris, Chris Beach, Tom Mills, Corey O'Donnell, Aaron, John Cody, Joel Sapp, Paul Casarino, Chris Osborne, KB, Adam Lavoie, Jason Chalukas, Travis Krenzel, Bruce Otterstein, Tom Behan, Josh Pennington, John from Cream Ridge, New Jersey, Dustin Hart, Derek Finley, Charles Clement, Damon Klein, Jeff Brown, Jerry Slinger, Kenneth Corbett, Brian Bertoglio, Kim Bay, Troy Sievers, Nick Jacoby, Chip Hooper, Matt Chinander, Robert Moran, Rav, Christopher Mann, and of course, Michael Williams was the new one that I mentioned earlier. Next up, the Roadster and Space tier backers. Huge thanks and a hello to Pete White, Lyle Austin, Steve Radspinner, Fernando Cordero, Lawton from Chicago, Sean Neidig, Neil Weaver, Jackson Wallace, Rolf and Jennifer Evers, Howard Anthony Smith, Victoria Iacovetto, Tesla Hitchhiker 42, Carol Weston, Robert from near Philly, American Home Contractors, Doug Carey, Michael Gallo, and Tony Figueroa. Last but certainly not least, the grandfathered in Plaid level supporters. They are George Cassiopo, Logan Willis, Peter Chalet, Eric Randolph, Dory and Steve Guberman, the Tesla Owners Club of Taiwan, Ron Lee, Charlie Gillespie, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, the Lydia family, Aaron Altschul, Jared Brown, Jerome Strack, Jamie Dalton, Mike and Barbara from Louisville, Matt Nixon, the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin, Ish, not Elon Musk in quotes, Peter, and the Bear Boys of Colorado. And that will wrap it up for... I knew this was going to be a longer episode. These special Tesla event episodes typically are from all the clips and recaps and stuff. But like I said, I hope you have fun listening to these. It's a sprint, but it's fun putting them together. I hope it's that my goal is for it to be enjoyable to listen to and that you get some good information out of it. But I will leave that for you to decide. But I do thank you for listening. I thank you for your time, your attention, and your enthusiasm. Because especially if you're still listening at this point, an hour and 30-something minutes in, you definitely share the same enthusiasm for this stuff that I do, and I appreciate that. I really, truly do. That's what makes life fun, right? Is sharing in things that you're enthusiastic about with other people that share that enthusiasm. So that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. In any case, I will bid you farewell for this week before I return, of course, next Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific, as I always do. For now, though, happy electric motoring, and I'll see you back here next week.
Elon Musk, people don't like Elon Musk. The guy founded PayPal and Tesla, and people are like, yeah, but he's a troll and a bad dad. I'm like, so was mine. He did nothing to fight climate change. Also, have you been in a Tesla? Have you been in a Tesla? My buddy let me drive his Tesla. I laughed out loud at how fast it went. Been clinically depressed my entire life, on dozens of medications, in a Tesla for 13 seconds, cured forever.
I mean, I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.